Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Always happy to be here.
And congratulations on another hit, this time in a different space, telling a different story. It's a story that many Americans are familiar with, but I don't think told like this. The Central Park Five is what they were named or called by the media, the press at the time. And you've changed just the title of the film alone about these five boys who were accused of raping a jogger in Central Park. You changed the title. Everyone assumed it would be called the Central Park Five, but you changed the title, When They See Us. Why?
You know, the Central Park Five, I felt, was a political moniker, dehumanized them. It made you not actually hear and understand and know who they are. They were five boys, Yusuf, Antron, Raymond, Kevin, and Corey, who were just boys in Harlem on a spring day in 1989, and they were kind of ripped out of their youth. I mean, it was the last day, April 19th, 1989, was the last day that they were ever boys again. So around this whole thing of boys will be boys, the Kavanaugh stuff, that was happening while we were shooting this, and I couldn't help but wonder, why are some boys allowed to, you know, roughhouse and act stupid.
Right.
And other boys are instantly criminalized. And so that's a bit of what we examine. And so that's larger than just the case of the Central Park Five. So I want to ask the question, what do you see when you see us? It
really is a painful story, because it's these five boys who, at the time, many people believed were responsible for this rape, and they pleaded their innocence. And in the story, I mean, we watch how they're coerced into giving these testimonies. And what was interesting was when you were filming the series, it was literally, it's being released around the 30-year anniversary of when Donald Trump, just as a private citizen, ran an advertisement calling for the executions of these five young men. Do you think that sentiment, do you think that in some way shifted the public's perception on how to deal with these boys?
I mean, he was a part of a wave of people of privilege who were immediately starting to shape the story, starting to kind of indict these boys. What they were really upset about was the whole idea of criminality and making sure that they separated their own criminal tendencies from what they thought was happening on the street, that they had clear definitions, us and a them environment. Pat Buchanan was also saying crazy stuff at that time. There were a lot of prominent white folk who were out there acting buck wild, to be honest with you. And but this is of particular interest because he called for their deaths. He took out full-page ads in 4 New York City papers. He spent $85,000, which is a lot of money at the time. It's a lot of money now. And this was all before their trial. You know, it was 2 weeks after the news broke. And so this film asks you to think about the news. You know, at that time, 89% of the headlines and the articles written about this case didn't use the word alleged. 89% didn't use the word alleged.
Wow.
So it was just this kind of rush to judgment on the part of politicians, you know, the press, but also private citizens who had the wherewithal to shape the conversation.
When you told the story, you chose to tell it in a very specific way. You know, it is a limited series, and so you've broken it into pieces. But what you've done is, like, in each piece, focused on a certain element of who the boys were dealing with. You know, it's dealing with the world that they're in, dealing with prison, dealing with their families, dealing post-prison, etc. Why did you tell the story that way? Yeah,
I mean, it's the story of this very famous case, the Central Park Jogger case, but also, you know, running alongside it is a story that will, by the end of it, you should be fully versed in all of the different nooks and crannies of the criminal justice system. You know, part 1 is dealing with police interrogation, police aggression, precinct behavior, the stripping of rights of some citizens.
Because these boys were questioned without their parents
at first. Without 48 hours, without parents, without food, without rest. The second piece is all about the court system, judges, juries, defense attorneys, prosecutors, and bail. You know, this whole idea that we really have a debtor's prison in this country. You can pay to get out, or you can be poor and stay in, and that's really who these criminals are, people who just couldn't pay. The third part is about juvenile detention, that we're still locking up kids in this country, sometimes in adult spaces, and then post-incarceration, how we treat formerly incarcerated people as second-class citizens in this country. So the whole breadth of that is explored, as well as incarceration itself. So by the time you finish watching this 4-part film, you will know about the Central Park Five, but you also know a lot more about how the system that we pay for as taxpayers, how it works.
It's interesting because this story starts off with 5 boys who are accused of something that they confessed to, and that for many people was it. They said, well, they confessed, you know, and in the story, it's interesting how you don't even explain, you just show how easy it is to just want to get out of a tough situation as these kids did. And were it not for the DNA evidence, their lives would have ended in prison. You chose to work with these boys who are now men on the film. That must have been a really emotional experience, not just for yourself, but for them, because they're reliving many of the things that robbed them of their childhoods. You put some systems in place, and I believe you even had therapists or counselors on set. Like, why was that so important to you, and why did you want them to be a real part of the story?
Well, I want the men to be a part of the story because it is their story, and my key purpose in this was to honor them, was to give them voice. You know, their voices were robbed from them. Those confessions were not their own words. They were coerced to say those things. So we haven't really heard from them. So that was the goal in the piece. But in doing it, we're showing a lot of really challenging stuff that I'm asking actors to participate in. Your mind as an actor knows that you're doing something, but your body doesn't know what fear, adrenaline that you're pretending, right? So you really have to help safeguard the actor. And when I made Selma, I asked actors to do, murders, beatings, riots, all kinds of things, and I heard from them afterward that they had a problem kind of letting go.
Wow. Right.
So I said, if I ever do this again, I'll make sure I have someone to create a really safe place for them, so they could call a counselor, they could see a counselor at the end of the day if they need it.
It's a beautiful story that you've put together. I mean, it puts you into a different space. We know you for Selma, we know you for 13th, we know you for, now people will know you for When They See Us. When we look at Ava's career, I mean, we know Wrinkle in Time is another side of who you are. How do you work between those worlds? Because on one hand, you are telling some of the most gripping, violent and disturbing stories. On the other hand, it's like fantastical and it's beautiful. Do you find a way to reset and just be like, all right, now I'm going to switch to that? Is there like a journey? Do you have to go to Hawaii in the middle and then come back? What do you do?
Yes, I would like to go to Hawaii in the middle. You know, for a long time, I really resisted being social justice girl. I didn't want to be I didn't want to. Well, because I didn't want to be put in a box. I'm already in a box. Hollywood thinks, I'm supposed to do a certain thing.
Yes.
I wanted to kind of show that I could do a little bit of everything. But as I've become older and I think more mature about it, I know that, this work is important and I can do it. And I think I do it well. And so I'm okay with being social justice girl. But you have to call me social justice woman. So, and then I'm okay with that.
I'll call you whatever you want. Ava DuVernay, thank you so much for being on the show again. When They See Us, an amazing limited series, premieres May 31st on Netflix. Ava DuVernay, everybody.